Hello, I'm Noor Matthew. This video shows my 7th C# experiment, that is Windows Form application. The aim of my program is to develop an address book maintenance system using C# by integrating the database with proper authentication. So now I'll show you the output of my program and I'll explain you the code. So this is my form. Now I'll enter the username and password. So my username is admin and password is Noel. So I log in. So this is the data grid view. It shows the current status of the database, the details that are already stored in the database. And now I'll insert data to the database. I'll give the name as Noel, telephone number 99999, date of birth 03/10/1994, address as current. I'll insert the data. So the records have been inserted successfully. You can see the data is over there in the data grid view. Now we'll move back and we'll go to update, and I'll change my name from Noel to Matthew. I'll keep the number as before. The updation takes place with respect to the date of birth that we are entering. So as I earlier entered 03/10/1994, if it matches with the data in the database, it updates the data that we are changing. So I've changed from Noel to Matthew, so we'll see a change over there. Rest we are keeping it as earlier. So I've updated. So the records have been inserted successfully, and now it has been changed from Noel to Matthew. You can see the change over here. We'll move back. Now I've shown you how the insert function and the update function are working. Now I'll show you the delete function. The delete function also works with respect to the date of birth. So I'll enter 03/10/1994. So you'll see whether it's deleted or not. So the records have been deleted successfully. You can see that the Matthew, the column, the row under Matthew has been deleted successfully. So I've shown you guys how my application is working. Now I'll explain you the code. The application mainly consists of 3 different types of pages. First is the design page, where we drag and drop the buttons, the text boxes, the labels, the data grid view, where we can see the data that has been entered in the database, and using the toolbox cover in Visual Studio. And if you see the designer page, what it helps us do is we can change and rename the buttons, the labels, everything in the designer.cs page. The CS page, what it does is it helps us write the functionalities of the buttons that we have in the design page. So if you take an example of the insert function, you can see that first we need to connect it with the database. So here I have my database created. Its name is address. I have a table inside it. Its name is address book. So we have different columns in it: name, telephone, date of birth, and address. So if the table is matching with the data that is being entered in the application, so the data will be entered correctly in the database, otherwise it will be showing an error. So we'll see the code for it, and here we've written the SQL command: insert into the table name, that is address book, the attributes that are name, telephone, DOB, and address, the values that have been stored in the variables A, B, C, and D respectively, and we're using the insert command .parameters.add to take the values from the data text box that has been entered by the user and store it. So if the query is executed successfully, it will show records have been inserted successfully in green color, otherwise it will show try again in a red color font. The update and delete functionalities also work in a similar way like the insert function. So we can see that the delete and update functions work with respect to the date of birth that is being entered by the user. So if the date of birth that has been entered by the user matches with the data that is already in the database, it changes the values that have been entered by the user. So similarly, as I've shown you in insert, the update and delete commands take the data and store it in variables A, B, C, D as shown here, and for update it is using the SQL command update table name set two attributes, name equal to A, telephone equal to B, where DOB equal to C. So if the query is inserted successfully, then it shows that the records have been updated. It's shown in green, otherwise it will be shown try again in red color. So we can see the result in the data grid view as we've given the SQL command over here, select star from address book. So what it does is it takes all the rows that are inserted in the database, in the table address book that we have in our database, and show it in the data grid view. Now I'll show you the SQL command that I've given for the delete. You can see that I've given as delete from table name where date of birth. So if the date of birth entered by the user matches with any of the data that has been entered already in the database, then it will delete that row. Otherwise, it will show that it's an error in red color. Similarly, if the data is deleted, you'll see it executes the command select star from address book, so it will retrieve all the data that has been stored in the table and show it in the data grid view. So I hope I've explained my program and I've shown you the output. So thank you. And this is what I've done in my experiment number 7, that is Windows Form application.